been called out. One of you lot have said I said something on Sunday which proves I know nothing about football. We're going to be taking a little look at that later on. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with the latter part. Never claimed to know anything. Anyway, this is a show where we take a look at your comments on this channel over the last few days. We've got 11 comments coming up, 10 which are not calling me out, and one of them is so. But before we get into it, I just want to say a massive thank you. At the time of recording, 135 of you have donated to Gonzo's fund. Gonzo created a little fund. A few people have got in touch over the last couple of weeks and just said, is there any way we can send you something for a wedding present? And I've said no. But they've contacted Gonzo as well. And out of kindness, he's done it out of kindness. He's created a little donation pot where people could put some money in, and you get me it's a KitchenAid mixer. He's told a few fibs. Taylor Swift, and I detest Jamie Oliver, but one thing he did say was true is I enjoy baking, and when you have a hobby, there's something you would really like, isn't there? And there's a KitchenAid mixer that I think one day I'm gonna get one of them one day, and because of you lovely lot, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna go away next weekend, so I'll get married on Saturday to Mrs. Gio. Obviously not someone else's, Mrs. Gio. Get married to her on Saturday, so the following weekend, international break, we're going to go away for a few days. So massive thank you to everybody that donated. It genuinely means a lot. I'm not one for talking about feelings or emotions. I've got a little bit better at it over on Patreon or Naked and stuff like that, but I tend to be quite reserved. But yesterday was quite, when I clicked on it and seen how much people had donated and stuff, it meant a lot to me. So thank you very much. Anyway, enough with the soppy stuff. Let's get on and see. Well, we'll get on to the hardcore stuff at the end when someone's saying you know nothing about football. Got a feeling he's not. Got a feeling he hasn't donated. He's probably been trying to take it out. But comment number one is from the Croyd, who says, "I really hope Tim Steidten hangs in there to see this project through to eventual fruition. Lopetegui is ridiculously poor by anyone's standards as a coach. This wasn't Tim's fault. Not getting Duran across the line wasn't Tim's fault. The buck of responsibility in all of these failures falls on that non-footballing genius David Sullivan, who simply finds it impossible to fully delegate without interfering, and in doing so, usually screwing everything up in the process. As long as he continues to oversee this club, we will always be, despite our incredible large fan base, a sleeping potential giant." I agree with the second part of that completely, Croyd. The bit I disagree with is this wasn't Tim's fault. Not getting Duran across the line wasn't Tim's fault. I disagree with that one. I have no proof. It's just opinions, and that's your opinion. I respect that. I just disagree. I have a different outlook, which is, I find it hard to believe that Sullivan would give over 100 million to Tim Steidten and then dictate how that 100 million spent, especially when, if you're going to say that he's telling Tim Steidten how much he can spend on certain players and positions, that means Sullivan has allowed him to spend 25 million on an 18-year-old Brazilian winger. And I struggle to accept that. I struggle to accept Sullivan would authorise the spending of that, but not the one on Duran. My opinion, and this is just an opinion, I don't know, is that Steidten had a budget, and Steidten spent that budget how he wished, and it was his decision that Duran was too expensive. Because when Duran started the season really well, Fabrizio Romano, someone who has links, gets photographs from Tim Steidten, he started pushing that actually the bids West Ham made were greater than anything reported in the summer. And I just find it convenient that it came out once Duran was doing well and not back in the summer when the bids were actually being made. But I don't know. We've got one from Coz, says, if we sack him, we won't hire anyone. We won't hire someone better. We may as well wait till the summer and look then. But personally, I hope we don't get rid of Lopetegui. Melbourne said, regardless of the result from the Everton game, I think this international break is Sullivan's last chance to get out with some credibility. He can sack him now and say, it wasn't working, so I took action, and we would all respect that. Keep him beyond the international break. I think we're in for the rubbish season, and Sullivan knows he will cop heat for it. I think the first part of that comment is bang on. Up until now, it's Sullivan got it wrong in the summer. If we struggle against Everton or like Melbourne suggests, regardless of it, from the international break on, it's no longer Sullivan got it wrong in the summer. It's Sullivan got it wrong in the international break. I completely agree, which is it's the perfect time. It's the last chance to be ruthless, hold your hands up, make a decision, and then go get the next one right. And like Melbourne said, I think we'd all respect. I think most would. Some won't, but I think most would. It would go some way in repairing his credibility to some extent. Creamy said, I really feel we don't have the players / squad to actually do any better than we are. Can you see these players, second oldest squad in the Premier League, being fast enough to compete in the top half of the league? Our midfield is full of carbon copies. Our defence is one of the worst statistically in the league. Our forwards, Antonio, Ings and Fulkrug, combined age of 97 years old. I think we've got good players. In terms of a squad, it's imbalanced. I think we're lacking in some areas, in midfield in particular. But I still think we've got some really good players at this club. Bra says Steidten is a fraud. Also not impressed one bit. For what it's worth, I'm not ignoring. I feel like you're aware when you do these videos. Sometimes you're aware. I think sometimes you're not aware of what you're saying. You can go too far one way or another, either positive or negative. But with the Tim Steidten stuff, I'm aware I'm ignoring that topic a little bit. But that's because I want to do a video just solely on Tim Steidten. And it'll go up next week. I'll go up after the Everton game. I'm a bit busy later on this week for a couple of reasons. Paul says Lopetegui stays unless there is a plan. Our board, a plan. Not sure I can see where any of this is going. It's easy for the board to sit back and let Lopetegui dig some more holes, but hoping to use this time to find an alternative that is not Graham Potter, Eden Terzic or Rafa Benitez. Moving on then, I'm just going to check I haven't missed that one. No, I haven't. That's okay. Right, moving on to comment number 7 is from Jeff. Said it before. Was underwhelmed by his appointment. See nothing to give me any confidence and that things are going to get better. Sorry, but we need to bite the bullet and change him now. But who we get in is another question I don't trust our board to get right. And I completely agree with everything Jeff just said here, especially that last sentence. What Melbourne said, which is this is the time where Sullivan can say, right, I've made a mistake. And he can rectify that mistake to some extent. But it's only half the problem, isn't it? The other half is what Jeff is referring to here, which is, well, who are you going to go get? And admitting you've made a mistake is one thing, but learning from that mistake is a completely different thing. And that would require Sullivan to say, okay, I've got the wrong guy because I've restricted myself to a free manager. I listened to a certain agent who may have the initials WS, should be BS, but it's WS. That's where I went wrong. And I can't see him doing that. Even if he managed to do the first bit, which is I've made a mistake, I struggle to see him doing that just now. But if he did, to then go, okay, I'm going to have to maybe pay compensation, go get a manager that someone else wants at the club and it's not the one that I want. I can't see him doing that part. So I could see him fixing half the problem, which is identifying his error. But the second part, I can't see it at all. Gaddis said he was a bit like myself. This is not the guy calling me out. He's in agreement with me. Said, I never wanted this guy. But no, I will give him a chance and see what happens. But it seems it's not working. We seem worse than last season under Moyes. I've even said on previous videos, let's give him till November and see. Well, November is here and it's time to go. We were lucky with a pen in the Man United game. Players look lost with the system and they have given up with his tactics. Lopetegui out and Sullivan to go with him. Yeah, I've seen that Howard Webb has said that Man U pen shouldn't have been given. So I guess the goal that got Eric Ten Hag sacked and maybe saved Lopetegui's arse a little bit was an incorrect decision by VAR, which I think the majority of West Ham fans said at the time. Will says, after the big rebuild, I thought it would take until Christmas to click. But we were nowhere near, and it doesn't look like it will happen. Lopetegui has had all summer and up till now to at least get the players understanding his system, but it's not happening. He does it even though he's starting 11 yet. We're going to lose a lot of players who are out of contract in the summer, and if we finish low in the table, we will lose a lot more who want to be playing at the highest level. This means another rebuild and another season of adjusting. I think it's best for all if we part ways with Lopetegui now rather than later. I think that's an excellent point. I've possibly been guilty, and I think maybe some of you guys have been a little bit guilty of the heaving now. Like, Lopetegui's struggling now. So far, it's not been good enough. And I've maybe been guilty of looking up until the end of this season, which is, I don't want to write the entire season off. I wasn't impressed by his attitude towards the Carabao Cup. So when the FA Cup comes around, is he going to have the same one? Well, if he continues this form, he will do, because the league will be the priority to avoid that relegation battle. And I don't want that. I'm not prepared to write off the entire season after 10 league games. And I've been guilty of being a little bit blinkered by that, but Will's looking beyond that into the summer, and he's absolutely correct. There's big decisions required on some players, and I think some players will make that decision for us, like Vladimir Sufal, for example. I would be shocked if he was here, even if we offered him a contract. I don't think he'll sign it. I think he'll go in the summer. So we are going to have to make a few transfers next summer, and you could argue very well that there's another rebuild, another season of adjusting. I like Will's comment there. Right then, we've got a couple more comments to go. It says I've got 3. I thought I only had 2. But anyway, it says I've got 3 more comments. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. And if you're enjoying this video and you're enjoying this series, please do drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. It gives me a little bit of an indicator as to whether people are liking it. And that's why I've done this plug towards the end of the video. Because if you're watching it, I'd argue you're somewhat enjoying it. Comment number 10 is from Connor, who says, "It's so frustrating. I don't think results have been terrible, but I feel the performances have. Look who we've played. I possibly would have had us a little bit higher in the table, considering we've already played 5 of the top 6 in our first 12 games. But the performances, the lack of discipline, lack of direction, lack of style, it's just so frustrating. If we had played better in our losses, then I don't think he would be under this much scrutiny. Quite like the manager, I'm just not liking what we are churning up week in, week out. Performance is everything against Everton. If we don't indicate any style or direction of where Lopetegui wants to go, then we have to cut ties before we come back against Newcastle. We have to win, and we have to blow Everton away." I completely agree with what Connor's just said here, actually, especially the middle bit when he said, if we had played better in our losses, I don't think he'd be under this much scrutiny. And I think that's pivotal to, certainly, I feel like it's Connor's opinion and my opinion as well. Because if you come out of a defeat but you feel like you're unlucky, or you can see what he's trying to do, I think you can hold on to that and say, don't worry, it'll be all right. It's going to get better because of X, Y, Z. But it ain't any X, Y, Z. It's actually, the X, Y, Z points to why things are going to stay the same or possibly even get worse. I agree with every word Connor's just written there. Comment number 11, before we get on to why I know nothing about football. It's from Mitchell, who says, "I was relatively pro Moyes because it got results. I'm an international supporter, so I understood when fans said the stadium had become awful under him and people were dreading going to games and they wanted him to go. We were also pretty average at the end of last season, so it was a good time to move on. I was excited with Lopetegui, but Jesus, our players look so much worse. They look unhappy. Wan-Bissaka is the only player actively playing well." And I think this is just a really well-balanced and considered post by Mitchell. Now, obviously, doing this, I read a lot, at least 100 comments a day, I think is fair to say. Some videos get over 200 comments, 300 comments. So I read a lot of people. But it doesn't reflect the fan base. It reflects Hammers Chat subscribers, and that is it. It doesn't reflect the entire West Ham fan base or anything like that. And I think sometimes people can be guilty, and possibly I as well, to not considering other people's point of views as to why they have a difference of opinion. So when I read this from Mitchell, I just thought it was really refreshing, to be honest with you, that he is pro Moyes, but was able to sort of think, well, I don't go to games still, but you do, so you're not enjoying it. I can understand that. I just thought it was a balanced comment. Now, moving on to the comment you all want to see. I'm going to add a little bit of context here, okay? Because context is important in everything, but especially for this. Actually, no. Let's just do the comment, then I'll add. It's more fun that way. If I do the text first. It might suck the fun out of it. So here you go. It's from CM, who says, "You can't help mentioning Moyes, can you? Get over it. He's gone. The fact you think it's harsh to have Grant, Pellegrini and Moyes as our worst manager tells you everything. It tells us you know nothing about football." Now, the context is, I went live on Sunday morning, as I try and do after every game. At 9 a.m. the next day I go live. And then I take comments from the live chat. That's the whole concept of the show. It's what this show's about, what people are saying in the comment section. The day after the game is about what people are saying in the live chat. And someone put up a comment and said, it might have been him, I don't know. And it said that Lopetegui's just as bad. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but it basically said Moyes was one of our worst managers, including Grant and Pellegrini. So I clicked on it, and I don't read the comments before I click on it because it would take ages. If I sat there going, then I clicked on it and read it out. What's the point in that? I've got to gamble. I've got to click on it and read it out and hope there's a little bit of something in the comment we can get our teeth into. So I clicked on it, read it out, and my initial reaction was I completely disagree. It still is, by the way. I haven't changed my opinion, even though it proves I know nothing about football. Because to compare Moyes to Avram Grant, I think is just ridiculous, personally. I really do. If you genuinely think that, then that's up to you. But Avram Grant was a rubbish manager. Do you know something? Lopetegui's not as bad as Avram Grant. Not yet. He might become as bad as Avram Grant, but he's not that bad yet. Lopetegui is not that bad yet. Grant was horrific. He was equivalent of Roberto as a manager. What Roberto was the goalkeeping, Avram Grant was a manager of West Ham. Lopetegui ain't that bad. Now Lopetegui might be, I don't know, Gokantore or something. Maybe not at the bottom level, but there are a couple up from it. And Moyes, I mean, I think to even consider Moyes on the same par as Avram Grant, I think is just silly, to be honest with you. The guy, listen, you might not have enjoyed his football. I didn't enjoy his football, but 3 seasons of European football, won a trophy, and you're going to compare him to the guy that got us relegated. I mean, come on. Anyway, because I disagreed, he said I kept bringing him up. And here's the irony, and this is what I enjoy sometimes. Here's the irony. I clicked on someone else's comment and read it out. And according to that poster that you just seen on the screen, that was me mentioning Moyes. Now I explained to him, now the concept of the show is I click on other people's comments and read them out. That wasn't enough. Nah, you go on about Moyes in every video. I did over a half-hour video. It was like 40 minutes on Sunday, 40 minutes. 95% of it was about Lopetegui. His comment was only about David Moyes. Anyway, there you go. I know nothing about football because I think David Moyes is a better manager than Avram Grant. Lastly, seriously though, thank you to everybody. 135 people, I think it was when I checked, but just recording this. It is quite it's quite humbling, and I sent it to Mrs. Gio, and she was quite emotional as well because we weren't planning on going away. Couldn't afford it. Weren't planning on going away. Now we can look at going away the weekend after the wedding for a couple of days and take a couple of days off work, which I've only had 2 days off this year. I'm gonna have 4 by the end of this month, thanks to you lovely lot. So seriously, thank you. I'll be back tomorrow with Gonzo with our Everton preview. Muggerty's up on Patreon, Naked's up on Patreon, and then Friday I'll have my opposition preview with an Everton fan, with Mike, who's a really good opposition fan to get on. I've done videos with him in the past. I really like him, so I'm looking forward to that one. Anyway, thank you very much. Please do drop a like on the video before you disappear. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Catch up with you tomorrow.